Before you speak, before you act, before the world notices you, ask yourself one question: who are you when no one is watching? Because that is where real confidence is forged, not in applause, not in recognition, but in the moments of solitude, struggle, and silence that most people try to escape. The confidence that cannot be challenged is not loud. It does not need to prove itself. It is calm, grounded, and deeply rooted, and it is built long before anyone else sees the result. I want you to understand this clearly. Confidence is not something you put on for the world. It is something you grow inside yourself. Most people confuse confidence with expression. They think confidence means speaking loudly, dominating conversations, or showing strength outwardly. But this kind of confidence is fragile. It collapses the moment it is questioned. True confidence is different. It is silent. It comes from knowing what you have done, what you have endured, and what you have mastered within yourself. Train in the Shaolin way. Training begins in quiet repetition. The same movement again and again. No audience, no reward, no instant result, just commitment, just discipline. When you train in silence, you remove all external motivation. There is no one to impress, no one to validate you. You are left alone with your intention. And in that space, you learn who you really are. You learn whether you can stay when it is boring, whether you can continue when it is painful, whether you can be honest with yourself when excuses are easy. Kalmenda. This is why silence is powerful. When you work without being seen, your effort becomes pure. You stop performing and start building. You stop pretending and start becoming. Every early morning you rise when others sleep. Every time you choose discipline over comfort. Every time you continue without encouragement, you are placing another stone in your foundation. Confidence grows quietly, layer by layer, until one day it becomes unshakable. Most people want confidence without the process. They want the result without the work. But confidence without work is illusion. It depends on others. It needs constant reinforcement. The confidence built in silence is different. It is backed by proof. You know what your body can endure because you have tested it. You know what your mind can handle because you have sat with discomfort. You know your limits because you have faced them alone. This kind of knowing cannot be taken away from you. When you train in silence, you also develop patience. You stop rushing to be seen. You stop comparing your journey to others. You understand that growth takes time, and with patience comes calm. With calm comes control, and control is the essence of confidence. A person who is in control of themselves does not need to control others. A person who is certain within does not need to seek certainty outside. Silence also teaches humility. It reminds you that there is always more to learn, more to refine, more to master. This humility does not weaken confidence. It strengthens it because you are not attached to an image. You are attached to progress. You are not afraid of failure because no one is watching. You are not afraid of starting again because your ego is not involved. And this freedom allows you to grow faster, deeper, and stronger. Balance. When the world finally sees you, they only see the surface. They see calm, they see stability, they see presence. What they do not see are the years of quiet struggle that built it. This is why such confidence feels intimidating. It does not react. It does not explain. It does not seek approval. It simply stands, grounded, certain, untouched by noise. Unblend. If you want confidence that cannot be challenged, stop trying to display it. Start building it where no one can interfere, in silence, in discipline, in consistency. Become strong without witnesses. Become certain without applause. Then, when challenges come, you will not need to defend yourself. Your presence will answer for you. This is the confidence of the Shaolin. Silent, earned, unbreakable. And once the silent foundation is built, there is another layer that must be mastered. If your confidence is truly to remain unchallenged, you must detach from approval. Most people do not realize how much of their strength they give away every single day by seeking permission to exist as they are. They measure themselves through reactions, expressions, likes, praise, and acceptance. And the moment approval becomes your source of stability, your confidence becomes fragile because it now depends on something outside your control. Understand this deeply. The need for approval is not weakness in itself. It is natural. We are social beings. We want to belong. But when belonging becomes more important than truth, you begin to betray yourself. You start adjusting your words, your actions, even your dreams to fit expectations. Slowly, quietly, you move away from who you are. And every time you do this, your confidence erodes because deep inside you know you are not standing fully in your own integrity. In the Shaolin path, detachment does not mean isolation. It means freedom. Freedom from the emotional dependence on how others perceive you. When you detach from approval, you reclaim your inner authority. You stop asking, is this acceptable? And start asking, is this aligned with my values? This shift changes everything. Because values are stable, but opinions are not. Opinions change with mood, with trend, with fear. If your confidence is tied to opinions, it will rise and fall endlessly. But when it is tied to values, it becomes steady. Many people fear being misunderstood. They fear being judged. They fear standing alone. But what they do not realize is that the fear of disapproval is often greater than the fear of failure. They will abandon their path not because it is wrong, but because it is unpopular. Yet confidence that cannot be challenged is born when you are willing to stand alone if necessary. When you accept that not everyone will understand you, and that this is not a problem. When you no longer seek approval, you begin to speak less, but with more clarity. You do not explain yourself unnecessarily. You do not defend your decisions emotionally. You allow others to think what they want because you are no longer trying to control their perception. This calm creates presence, and presence creates respect. Ironically, the moment you stop chasing approval is often the moment you start receiving it. But now it no longer controls you. Detachment also teaches emotional independence. If praise comes, you receive it without attachment. If criticism comes, you observe it without collapse. You learn to separate feedback from identity. You take what is useful and discard the rest. This is strength. This is maturity. A person who cannot be easily offended cannot be easily manipulated. And a person who cannot be manipulated cannot be controlled. Ask yourself honestly, how many of your decisions are influenced by the fear of how others might react? How many times have you stayed silent when you should have spoken? How many times have you spoken when silence would have been wiser, simply to be seen or accepted? Every time you notice this, you are given an opportunity to reclaim your power. Not by fighting others, but by standing firmly within yourself. Detaching from approval does not make you arrogant. It makes you honest. You no longer pretend to be something you are not. You no longer overextend yourself to please. You no longer say yes when your inner voice says no. And this honesty builds confidence because there is alignment between what you feel, what you think, and what you do. There is no inner conflict. There is no fragmentation. This alignment creates a quiet strength that others can feel. You walk differently. You listen differently. You respond instead of react. You are not rushed by others' expectations. You are not shaken by their disappointment. You understand that their reactions belong to them, not to you. And with this understanding comes peace. Confidence that cannot be challenged is rooted in self-trust. And self-trust grows when you prove to yourself that you will not abandon your values for approval, when you can stand in discomfort without seeking reassurance, when you can move forward even when no one claps. This is the training. This is the discipline. Each moment you choose inner truth over external validation, you strengthen your foundation. Over time, The hunger for approval fades, not because you stop caring, but because you start caring about something deeper, your path, your integrity, your growth. And when this happens, confidence stops being something you try to project. It becomes something you embody. Lenged. When approval no longer controls you, neither does rejection. And when neither controls you, your confidence becomes untouchable. This is freedom. This is strength. This is the confidence that cannot be challenged. And when neither approval nor rejection has power over you, there is still one place where confidence can be lost or strengthened every single moment. That place is your own mind. If you do not master your inner dialogue, no amount of discipline, silence, or detachment will fully protect you. Because the most relentless voice you will ever face is the one that speaks when the world is quiet. And most people live under constant internal pressure. Their mind questions them, judges them, and weakens them before they ever take action. What if I fail? What if I am not enough? What if they are right about me? These thoughts arise automatically, and because they feel personal, people believe them. But believing every thought is like following every stranger who speaks to you. Inner mastery begins when you understand that a thought is not a command. It is an event, and events can be observed without being obeyed. In the Shaolin tradition, we train the mind the same way we train the body, with repetition, patience, and awareness. You do not try to silence the mind by force. Resistance only creates more noise. Instead, you learn to watch. You notice the thought arise, you notice the emotion attached to it, and then you return to the present moment. Over time, this practice creates space, and in that space, confidence begins to grow. Banned confidence that cannot be challenged is not built on constant positivity, it is built on stability. A stable mind does not collapse when doubt appears. It does not panic when fear arises. It recognizes these states as temporary. When your inner dialogue becomes disciplined, you stop fighting yourself. You stop adding unnecessary suffering to challenges that are already difficult. You conserve energy. And energy, when directed, becomes power. Meanwhile, most people allow their inner voice to speak in ways they would never tolerate from another person. Harsh criticism, endless comparison, unforgiving judgment. This inner hostility weakens confidence at the root. Mastery begins when you change the relationship with this voice, not by replacing it with empty affirmations, but by grounding it in reality. When the mind says you are not capable, you respond with action. When it says you will fail, you continue anyway. Over time, the mind learns from experience, not arguments. Your inner dialogue should become calm, precise, and purposeful. Instead of asking, "Can I do this?" you ask, "What is the next step?" Instead of saying, "This is too hard," you say, "This requires training." This shift is subtle but powerful. You are no longer negotiating with fear. You are moving forward despite it. You are surrenderance, a process. And every time you do, confidence deepens. Understand this, confidence grows when your words align with your actions. If your mind constantly speaks doubt while your body moves forward, eventually the mind learns to follow. But if your mind speaks confidence while your actions avoid effort, the mind loses trust. This is why mastery of inner dialogue must be paired with discipline. You do not lie to yourself. You train yourself. Silence is also important here. When you reduce unnecessary mental noise, clarity emerges. Many people overwhelm themselves with constant input, opinions, and stimulation. This feeds the inner dialogue with confusion and comparison. Stillness allows you to hear your own thoughts clearly, and clarity allows you to correct them. A calm mind is not empty, it is focused, and focus is a form of confidence. As you continue this practice, something changes. The inner voice becomes less reactive. It stops exaggerating outcomes. It stops predicting disaster. It becomes grounded in the present. You begin to trust yourself more, not because you feel fearless, but because you have proven that you can move forward even with fear present. This is real confidence, quiet, stable, earned. Eventually, your inner dialogue becomes an ally instead of an enemy. It guides rather than criticizes. It observes rather than attacks. And when the mind is aligned in this way, external challenges lose their power. Criticism does not penetrate deeply. Pressure does not overwhelm. Uncertainty does not paralyze. When you master your inner dialogue, you become self-led. You are no longer pushed by impulse or pulled by fear. You move with intention. And a person who moves with intention cannot be easily shaken. This is the final layer of internal strength. When the mind is trained, confidence no longer fluctuates with circumstances. It remains calm, steady, unchallenged. And from this place of inner stability, the next test appears, not in thought, but in sensation, in pressure, in discomfort. Because even with a trained mind, life will still challenge you through difficulty. Pain will come. Resistance will appear. And it is here that confidence is either confirmed or exposed. If you cannot endure discomfort without complaint, your confidence will always depend on conditions. And anything that depends on conditions can be shaken. Most people do not fear pain itself. They fear the meaning they attach to it. They fear what discomfort says about them. They interpret struggle as failure, resistance as a sign to stop, and pressure as something unfair. This interpretation weakens them before the experience even unfolds. In the Shaolin path, discomfort is not an enemy. It is a teacher. It reveals your habits, your limits, and your attachment to comfort. When you learn to endure without complaint, you reclaim your power. Complaint is a form of resistance. It drains energy. It keeps the mind focused on what is wrong instead of what is required. When you complain internally or externally, you are telling yourself that the moment should be different than it is. This creates friction. Endurance, on the other hand, is acceptance combined with action. You acknowledge the difficulty without exaggerating it. You feel the discomfort without dramatizing it. And then you continue. Confidence that cannot be challenged is built when you prove to yourself that you can remain present in discomfort, when you can breathe through pressure, when you can stay focused while the body wants to escape. Each time you do this, you strengthen self-trust, and self-trust is the core of confidence. Not the belief that things will be easy, but the knowing that you can handle difficulty. In training, we intentionally place ourselves in uncomfortable positions, not to punish the body, but to train the mind. When the legs shake, when the breath becomes heavy, when the urge to stop grows strong, this is the moment where confidence is shaped. Not by pushing aggressively, but by staying calmly. You learn that discomfort rises, peaks, and falls. And when you experience this repeatedly, fear loses its authority. Most people stop at the first sign of resistance. They interpret it as a warning. But often, resistance is simply the threshold of growth. If you turn away every time discomfort appears, you remain familiar with comfort, but unfamiliar with your own strength. Endurance teaches you where your real limits are, and often they are much further than you think. Enduring without complaint also refines your character. It develops patience, it develops humility, it develops focus. You stop wasting energy on emotional reactions. You stop telling stories about how hard things are. You place your attention on what is within your control: breath, posture, movement, effort. This simplicity creates clarity, and clarity creates calm. Calm under pressure is one of the clearest expressions of confidence. When others react emotionally, you remain steady. When others look for escape, you stay. This does not mean you seek suffering. It means you do not run from necessary difficulty. You understand that meaningful growth always requires effort, and effort is rarely comfortable. Bend it as you continue to endure without complaint. Something important happens. your identity shifts. You no longer see yourself as someone who avoids hardship. You see yourself as someone who can face it. This identity is powerful because once you believe this about yourself, challenges lose their power to intimidate you. You do not need to prove anything. You already know. This practice also removes the need for external reassurance. When you can endure discomfort alone, you stop needing others to tell you that you are strong. You have felt it, you have lived it, and lived experience is stronger than any compliment. This is why the confidence built through endurance is quiet. It does not speak. It does not boast. It simply stands. Many people mistake noise for strength. They speak quickly, react emotionally, and try to dominate space to feel secure. But this behavior reveals instability. It is an attempt to convince others, and often themselves, that they are in control. Grounded confidence does not rush. It does not interrupt. It does not seek to be seen. It is rooted in presence. And presence cannot be faked. When you are grounded, your body reflects it. Your posture is relaxed but upright. Your movements are intentional. Your breath is steady. You listen more than you speak. And when you do speak, your words carry weight because they are not wasted. This kind of presence creates a natural authority. People feel it before they understand it. Not because you demand attention, but because you are fully here. Grounding comes from alignment. When your mind, body, and actions are connected, there is no inner conflict. You are not pulled in multiple directions. You are not trying to impress or defend. You are simply responding to what is in front of you. This simplicity creates clarity, and clarity is calming. A calm person in a chaotic world stands out without trying. Confidence that cannot be challenged is not reactive. It does not rise and fall with situations. When others provoke, you pause. When others rush, you slow down. When others panic, you breathe. This steadiness is not passivity. It is control. True control begins within. A grounded person chooses when to engage and when to remain silent. And silence, when chosen consciously, is powerful. Strength, to be grounded, also means to be connected to reality. You know your strengths and your limitations. You do not exaggerate either. You do not pretend to be more than you are, and you do not shrink yourself to be accepted. You stand exactly where you are, and from there you grow. This honesty creates trust within yourself, and self-trust is felt by others. When you are grounded, you move through life with stability. You are not shaken by praise or blame. You are not distracted by noise. You are centered. And from this center, you act with clarity and strength. This is the confidence that cannot be challenged. Built in silence, freed from approval, strengthened by inner mastery, proven through endurance, and refined into calm presence. Mender, may you train patiently, and may you remain steady under pressure. May your confidence grow deep, quiet, and unshakable.